In the top stories, Census shows steady increase in Federation's population. Grenada to decriminalize cannabis, and Narendra Modi wins again, but stumbles over India's job crisis. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. I'm Scotticia Hendrickson. Nationally, the 2022 Population and Housing Census has registered a steady increase in the number of persons living in St. Kitts and Nevis. On Monday, the Cabinet of Ministers received a presentation on the census by Director of Statistics Carlton Phipps and Social Statistician Cornel Williams. Cabinet Secretary Dr. Marcus Natter gave insights into the presentation.
Mr. Williams described the census exercise as a comprehensive enumeration of the entire population, gathering data on demographics, behavior, and housing conditions through face-to-face interviews. The census covered individuals across both islands, utilizing 295 enumeration districts. Initial fieldwork began in April 2022, achieving 97% coverage by February 2023 and concluded by March 2023.
He outlined the breakdown of the statistics, noting that an 8.7 increase from the last census in 2011.
The enumerated population of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis for 2022 is 51,320 persons, marking an 8.7% increase over the 2011 census count of 47,195 persons. This reflects an increase of 4,125 persons over the 11-year period, averaging an annual increase of 0.76% during the intercensal period.
According to Dr. Natter, the next steps involve deeper analysis and detailed reporting to provide further insight into the population's living conditions and demographic profiles. The Department of Statistics will be publishing the final census report in the coming weeks. The Financial Education and Savings Program is expected to roll out in September of this year, so notes Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Honorable Dr. Terence Drew.
And we'll start this children financial education and saving plan. That plan is going to come on in September. So when students go out to school in September, they will have their account with $1,000. $500 will be in savings, $500 will be in shares, and we're going to give them shares.
The finance minister said the aim is to have children financially educated and have access to resources when they become older. He was speaking with members of the media during his roundtable discussion on May 31st.
We want our children to grow up financially educated and also to have financial resources. So irrespective of which family they come from, that they can escape the grips of poverty. This is innovative. We have seen programs being done, but we have brought it to the national level, that we will share a part of that wealth with the children so that they can build more wealth. Wealth building is critical. Otherwise, if you don't do it, you're going to end up with these vicious cycles of poverty.
According to Prime Minister Drew, the topics and the program will include critical topics like budgeting, saving, investing, entrepreneurship, and understanding the financial markets. Aimed at individuals aged 5 to 18, it seeks to equip them with the skills to successfully navigate the financial world. Each young citizen will receive a savings account with an initial deposit of 1,000 EC dollars. Of this amount, 500 EC dollars will be invested in shares of government majority-owned companies such as the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank and the Cable. Subjects offered by the Caribbean Examination Council, CXC, that were last month announced to be discontinued in 2 years are now back on the table, with even new ones in tow. In a press release from CXC following a meeting that was had with the ministers of education across the region, it was decided that the subjects would remain. Dr. Wayne Wesley, CEO of CXC, spoke with the media of the agreement made.
The meeting demonstrated our shared commitment to find a critical path forward on this matter, given the pressing education and human capacity development imperatives facing the region. The ministers of education were forthright in their positions, as well as pledging their support for CXE and for more direct lines of communications with the Council. I therefore want to announce our agreed positions emerging from the meeting as follows. 1. The Caribbean Examinations Council will continue to offer to the region agricultural science, double major, green engineering, industrial technology, the mechanical option, and electrical and electronic engineering technology.
Dr. Wesley spoke of the push to STEAM projects and subjects.
2. CXE has rolled out a menu of new generation technology and science programs. Some are not yet at the desired demand. Governments will work with CXE in a partnership in building demand for these new programs to enable their cost viability. 3. Accordingly, today's deliberations with the ministers of education reinforce the need for a collective regional marketing thrust to promote the priority subject areas in STEM or STEAM education and climate-smart agriculture, which are considered critical for the economic growth and sustainable development of the region.
New subjects to be included are entrepreneurship, tourism, animation and game design, logistics and supply chain operations, digital media, financial services, design and technology, and biotechnology. Finally, Dr. Wesley committed CXE to empowering the region.
In closing, let me state for the record that the Caribbean Examinations Council is deeply committed to the educational and human capital development of the region, and we will work in partnership with all our stakeholders to achieve our vision to advance the fortunes of our region.
Dr. Wayne Wesley, CEO of CXE, speaking at a press conference on Tuesday following the decision to suspend subjects offered by CXE. In regional news, Grenada is taking steps to decriminalize cannabis on the island and began with a panel discussion on Tuesday. GBN News has this report.
The panel discussions involving key stakeholders and experts in the field aim to delve into various aspects related to cannabis decriminalization. Topics of discussion includes the regulatory framework, public health consideration, legal implications, economic opportunities, and community impact. The draft policy on cannabis decriminalization serves as a foundational document guiding these discussions. It outlines potential measures, regulations, and guidelines aimed at responsibly managing the decriminalization and use of cannabis within the legal framework of the island. CEO of the National Cannabis Secretariat, Nandi Noel, outlined the two main steps involved.
To achieve such an ambitious mandate, the Working Committee has prepared a detailed timeline of key initiatives. The first, to host consultations with the public, like this session, as well as specialized consultations for the development of a national cannabis policy framework and a market feasibility study. The second initiative lies solely with providing recommendations to amend existing laws, and cannabis decriminalization is poised as the first step in that direction. We do have a drafted policy statement on cannabis decriminalization awaiting final review and approval that will better guide our way through the appropriate legal channels.
The National Cannabis Secretariat remains committed to facilitating constructive dialogue, gathering valuable insights, and formulating recommendations that align with international best practices and local priorities.
Working towards establishing a cannabis industry is a new and an exciting field, and we're also honored to host in its introduction to Grenada, Carriacou, and the Petite Martinique. But it is equally complex. It requires a careful step-by-step process. It also requires the careful examination and deliberation over relevant data while considering the implications and challenges that may accompany healing two issues in our country, being the freedoms and rights presented in the Grenada Constitution and religious and sacramental use within our Rastafarian community. It may introduce other social, health, economic, and criminal challenges.
Noel emphasized the importance of considering diverse perspectives, scientific evidence from other countries in the region that have undergone similar legislative changes.
This approach has been echoed in other Caribbean islands, whose models we are currently studying and learning from, including Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But before we dive into conversation, it's important to clarify the distinction between cannabis decriminalization and cannabis legalization for medicinal and scientific purposes. Decriminalization aims to remove the criminal penalties associated with simple possession of an allowed amount of cannabis. This would not establish a legal market for cannabis sales. That is a separate policy consideration under legalization for medicinal and scientific purposes.
The active engagement of stakeholders from various sectors, including healthcare professionals, legal experts, law enforcement agencies, and government, is helping to ensure a well-rounded approach to policy development. Rena P. Thomas, GBN News.
In international news, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has presided over world-beating economic growth, but chronically high unemployment rates played a key role in his surprise electoral setback this week. Modi has overseen India's ascent to become the world's fastest-growing major economy and its fifth largest, but the world's most populous country has a job crisis to match. More in this France 24 report.
It's one of the world's fastest growing economies, but economic challenges remained a key sticking point for many voters in India's election. The country's economy grew by 8.2% for the fiscal year ending in March, surpassing the UK to become the fifth largest economy, with projections to overtake Germany and Japan to claim third place by 2027. But with the world's largest global population, a vast proportion of which lives under the poverty line, these figures don't necessarily illustrate the true growth.
We have to think about the population size of over 1.4 billion people, and hence we have to be thinking about GDP per capita. So it needs more than what it is currently having.
When first elected a decade ago, Narendra Modi pledged to create more jobs. The Centre for Monitoring Indian Economy estimates unemployment at 8.1%, with Modi's administration failing to generate enough jobs for its expanding population. Although it's difficult to measure unemployment given India's large informal labour force, the joblessness was an issue that saw frustrated voters turn out to the polls.
They should have delivered on these promises as the population is continuously increasing, but the employment has decreased.
Many also argue an inequality gap confuses the true momentum of Indian economic activity. The rich 1% of Indians hold over 40% of the country's wealth. And according to a study by the World Inequality Lab, India's present billionaire Raj era has exacerbated income equality, with the gap between rich and poor even wider than it was under British rule.
And now for the weather. Present weather is cloudy skies with slight dust haze. Temperature is 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are a light breeze of 5 miles per hour from the south-southeast. Seas are 1 to 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. Weather forecast in St. Kitts and Nevis for today will be partly cloudy to cloudy and hazy conditions with a 40% or moderate chance of brief passing showers. Tonight will be fair to partly cloudy and hazy conditions in general with a 20% or a slight chance of brief overnight showers. Sunset today will be at 6:43 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:36 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Scotty Cia Hendrickson.